Welcome back. This is the big issue on TV3Newday, and today, well, we don't have our usual parliamentarians from both sides, but we have an exclusive conversation. Even before I introduce our guests for this morning, let me say a big thank you to Niche Chocolate and Niche Cocoa Drink for making it possible for us to come your way with this segment. Of course, remember that you can also enjoy some very tasty, nutritious Niche Chocolate drink. They come in different packs and different sizes. The 750 ml bottle, we have the Tetra pack, and we also have the sachet. And for the sachet especially, you don't need to add milk, you don't need to add water. I mean, no need to add milk and sugar, just water, hot water, and you are good to go. It is really tasty, and I keep talking about this every morning because I want you to try it. You will not regret it. They also have Niche chocolate that comes in different flavors as well. They have the dark option, and they have the milky and other flavors as well. So give Niche a try. Let us know what you think, but you will not regret it. Niche, taste of Ghana. Today we're speaking to a man who many have described as very experienced, of course, looking at the number of years that he has spent in Parliament. He assumed position as MP for Swame Constituency as far back as 1997 and has been their MP up until this point, about 25 years. But aside that, he wears other hats as well. Currently, he is the majority leader of Parliament, and also he is the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs here in Ghana. And today he joins us to have a conversation. Good to have you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to be good.
You're trying to be good. What is stopping you from being good, which is why you're trying?
Oh, well, even though we're on recess, we still have to be engaging in parliamentary business, which took us away. I just returned, and straight from the airport, we had to go to the office to say to matters that we couldn't attend to in the lead up to the adjournment of Parliament. Okay. So you stayed up to about 12 midnight, come home, and then have to be here this morning.
I know, I can imagine.
So really, it's a tough call, but you have to respond to everything.
Don't worry, we'll serve you some Niche chocolate so you can enjoy this morning and relax while we have this conversation. But talking about the fact that you had to still work, that means that you're never really able to complete all the work that you're supposed to do when Parliament is actually sitting. There's still a lot more to be done?
Absolutely. First of all, as the majority leader and leader of government business, you want to see whether the responsibility that was entrusted on you, how far you were able to travel on that path, and then to review the performance of the House, what we were able to achieve, what we weren't able to achieve, and then you plan the way forward into the next succeeding meeting of Parliament. So you are constantly and cyclically reviewing your performance to see that you are able to reach the zenith of your own capabilities and competence.
Yeah. How many bills were you able to pass as Parliament? In the
last time around, I think we were able to do about 4 or 5. Okay.
Out of how many bills that were expected?
So many before us, though. But then there are many of them that the committees have not finished the transaction of business on for them to report to Parliament with their own assessment of the bills or the programs that have been laid before them. So those of them that came before us were fortunately able to finish with them. And that included the hydrological bill, the hydrological authority bill. And then we did the many financial bills, tax amendments, and then a major one had to do with the what is called the plea bargaining bill. So about 5 of them, 3 financial bills and 2 outstanding. And then I think at the last moment, they brought the Minister of local government and rural development introduce a bill, and we're able to go through with it. So that's the 3rd non-financial bill that we're able to do. We have this Grains Development Authority bill that is before us, and we hope. And then there's this vaccine bill that's also very critical for us as a nation. We're not able to do it. The committee did not report to Parliament. So in the resumption of Parliament, which we hope will be in the third week of October, barring any circumstances. We then will be able to apply ourselves to those bills.
Vaccine bill, though, what is that?
We want to start the manufacture of some vaccines in the country. There should be a legal regime that should, guide us in that enterprise.
I see.
Thus far, we don't have, so we intend to have one. So that's
we're looking forward to that.
Thrust of it.
But has there been enough money to run Parliament in the last sitting? Because I remember that just a few days into resuming sitting, earlier, the Speaker had mentioned that there was not enough money to run Parliament, and so you're running on arrears, and he was even calling on Finance Ministry to provide some money, otherwise you'll not be able to carry out business. How did that pan out?
The thing is, since the inception of this Fourth Republic, ever since I've been a member of Parliament, there's not been any occasion when all the sectors of state have had a full complement of their requests for money. Ever? Never. Since the Fourth Republic, never.
Wow.
Never. So it's not a matter that is an isolated case. That is not to say that the Speaker had no business raising the issue. I mean, we need money to run Parliament and run Parliament efficiently as an arm of government. So in that regard, I agree with the call made by the Speaker that the Finance Minister and the Finance Ministry should endeavour to ensure that Parliament has, if not all, a significant proportion of the allocated resources which will enable us to function efficiently and effectively. So in that regard, I agree with the Speaker. But it should not also be made to appear that this is the only time that we don't have it.
It's always happened.
It always happens, but it's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
So we should be clamoring for the House to be appropriately resourced in order to allow us to perform our functions, our statutory functions.
So how much did you receive and how were you able to manage in the last
I'm not able to tell you how
weeks?
much we have thus far. Maybe I have to touch base with the Finance Directorate to enable us know how much. What I do recollect was that in the period leading to adjournment, my attention was drawn to the fact that there was an outstanding of about 17 million or so that needed to be given to Parliament. Because you see, if Parliament is not properly resourced, the committees of Parliament, which is the thrust of parliamentary performance, will not be liberated to work and discharge their functions effectively. And the Parliament is as strong as its committees make it. If committees are not able to perform their functions, then Parliament is weakened. And the committees are many, and every now and then they have to be engaging in study tours to hone their own skills and also to be able to perform their oversight responsibilities, which is critical to putting government on its toes. So as I said, we need to be properly and appropriately resourced.
Definitely, and I hope that that is done as soon as possible. But let's talk about, the rapport between the majority and the minority in Parliament as well. I mean, we've seen better days in Parliament as against what we had witnessed early on this year and last year as well. It looks like there's some better agreements between the two of you. Has that in any way inured to the benefits of government in total? Because in passing bills, we've heard the minority, even with the recent approval of the 750 million that was needed. Of course, your constituency was going to benefit from that amount as well. They had said that enough details had not been given for that particular request, and so at a point they had even said they were not going to approve it until your government gives them all the details, the finance minister gives them all the details. And they said they won't pass the 250 million that is left because they still do not have all those details as well.
They're making two issues as to what issues that were raised in the lead up to the approval of the $750 million facility. And then we are talking about collaboration between the majority and the minority. I think they are two different things.
They are?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if the issue is the finance minister, or for that matter, any other minister who has come to Parliament with a facility with an agreement, had not given details or sufficient details of the project. I mean, it lies squarely on Parliament to demand the details, because it helps us to perform our oversight functions. If you don't know the details, to not be able to trace and track the usage of the facility or the application of a facility. So yes, Parliament should request for details in order to position us to perform our oversight responsibilities. The other matter so it's a legitimate request or demand from Parliament. The other matter that you raise about collaboration, I keep insisting that we hear every now and then some people saying that, oh, Bonsu is not trying to build consensus. I disagree with that. You
disagree with that?
Yes.
Why so?
Look, I've been a minority leader for 8 years. And God is my witness. No majority leader under the NDC invited me once to their office to discuss anything.
Never?
Never. Never. God is my witness. Never. Not under Bagbin as a minority leader, not under my bosom friend
Haruna?
No. Cletus Abuka.
Okay.
Not under Dr. Kumbo.
None of them invited you to their office?
Them, not once. Not under Bagbin. Look, Mensah becomes the majority leader. And you hear occasionally the NDC saying that Haruna has sold out to me. Because we operate like brothers. Haruna walks to my office anytime he wants. And I call him, we discuss matters on phone. Then my colleagues, the chief whip, is also dealing with his counterpart, the chief whip in the minority. So Muntaka, who's the chief whip, walks to my office as and when he likes.
Okay.
Then apart from the parliamentary enclave, you know, I'm the minister responsible for parliamentary affairs.
Yes.
I invite them to the ministry, and sometimes we have working dinner, we talk matters over, and then it culminates in my providing dinner. And I mean, that's the kind of collaboration and cooperation that I've tried to cement between myself as majority leader and them. Because we are one parliament. And they need to understand what government is doing, right? I went to France some time ago. And in France, I noticed something. That there, the chairman of their finance committee is not a member from the ruling party, but from the opposition party. Just like we have our own public accounts headed by an opposition party member. So I asked why. They said, see, nothing should be heading away from the minority because they are the alternate government. And to the extent that a lot revolves around the finance committee, the chairman should be from the opposition party. I was amazed because it doesn't happen in the other jurisdictions that I know. So when I came, I was canvassing for the idea that we should go, if we want to strengthen Parliament, we should allow some of the committees to be chaired by the opposition party members. Because as I told you at the very outset, a Parliament is as strong as its committees make it. If committees are not strong, for one thing, if you are talking about committees that are strong in Parliament, you mentioned the Finance Committee, you mentioned the Public Accounts Committee, right? And why is it so? One, because it's headed by an opposition member. It's one of the reasons why the Public Accounts Committee is strong. So I felt that we should, do the same thing in Ghana. And the new standing orders that we are fashioning out, which is admittedly being quite long in the oven, it incorporates these things. So we want to move Parliament forward, and it's coming from me.
And one of the things I've
been very insistent on this all this while.
So you'd want the Finance Committee to be led by...
not really the Finance Committee. Maybe other committees. I think, as a Parliament, there are some critical committees that must be headed by the ruling party members. For instance, foreign affairs. No government wants to share foreign affairs, the policy, with the opposition. Then defense and interior, for instance, something that no government will want to share with the opposition. National security. In our part of the world, because of labor agitations, maybe the Committee on Employment will be headed by. maybe local government. The rest of it then will be shared according to the numerical strength of the parties in Parliament.
Okay.
And I think that will contribute greatly to making our Parliament strong. So I'm just saying that I've been canvassing for these ideas, and there's a lot of collaboration and cooperation between myself and Haruna Idris. Sometimes we disagree on matters of policy, but that's nothing to do with the extent of cooperation and collaboration. I need him, and he needs me. So we've been doing this all this while, except that, you know, when it came to this time, when the numbers are about equal, 137 plus 137. Some people think that, well, in that case, everything should be equal. Remember, at the very outset, even the speaker was referring to us as co-leaders of the House. And I was telling him, where is this coming from?
You didn't want to agree to that?
I don't agree with that, because a Parliament has rules, and the strength of the caucuses determines who becomes the majority leader, right? And to the extent that we have a majority group, the group that produces, the group that has the largest number of seats is the group that is described the majority group or the majority caucus, and their leader is the majority leader. So you could have a situation where maybe the NDC could have, in Ghana now, maybe 137 as they have now.
Yeah.
The NPP perhaps could have 130, right? And then we'll have 8 independent members or other smaller party members who will decide for purposes of transacting business to associate with the MPP, which has 130.
Yeah.
To take the number to 138. Regardless of the fact that the NDC has 137, it will still make the leader of that group, that is the 130 plus the 8, the majority group, and the leader will be the majority leader. That is a parliamentary norm that is known everywhere. So if you don't want to recognize that, then we have a difficulty. And some of the storms that started initially were predicated on these nuances, which I thought were very unnecessary. But having said that, I think the turbulence has, stables is petered off, and I think we are making progress as a House. So how would you assess your performance as majority leader? Would you say that you've done a good job so far? I don't set my own questions and mark, and I award myself marks. I think the rest of people who are looking at us, sometimes people are judgmental without knowing what is going on. And when people get to know, they say, oh, really? Is that what is happening? So if people get to know the truth, I think they will assess me as having done well. But it's not for me to speak to it. It's for those outsiders, the neutral and objective analysts, to come with their own
But do you think you're judged wrongly based on happenings in Parliament and what we see in the media, on the news and all that?
A lot of people are judgmental without knowing the role of the majority leader. Right? They think that, oh, because there's some rampers, it's because they are not collaborating. It has nothing to do with that. Sometimes I myself, for instance, remember the president floated an idea to have us amend the Constitution to have MMDCs elected by universal adult suffrage. Yeah. For us in Parliament, we had agreed. The two parties agreed. And then we went, and then the CDD, led by Professor Kwesi Prempeh and Dr. Kwete leading IDEC, came in. They wanted to have collaboration between us. I said, oh, we had about finished. Notwithstanding, as independent arbiters, they came in. We had meetings. I think the last meeting was at Kempiski, where we agreed.
Both sides? Both sides. Had agreed that we should have the amendment. And I had even suggested that the amendment that was being proffered by the president should not be the end. There are some other ancillary provisions in the Constitution that we'll have to bring to bear, and that we have to put them in the basket so that we attend to them subsequent to the one that had been proposed from the presidency or by the executive. We had agreed on this. But then when we're leaving, one of us indicated, oh, let's consult the parties outside. The parties outside were consulted, and my party agreed with the position that I had adopted. The other parties, outside party, then came in to say that they shouldn't agree, and that was it. So they caused the minority to
Absolutely.
now change the mind. And it wasn't the minority that had raised objections about, voting based on maybe party lines on that?
Absolutely. I would say that there was not. It was the party outside that came in to say that they shouldn't agree. I remember those days when Parliament sat, some party officials would come and sit there to make sure that these things were done. So the outside influence of the parties outside, what was hampering the collaboration. Look, the recent one, most recent, the e-levy. We had agreed after some discussions among ourselves. The NDC indeed had started by saying that they were not going to agree. It was zero tolerance for the e-levy bill. We sat down, and myself and the leadership, and then the expanded leadership that included the finance committee members and so on, the leader of the finance committee, the leadership of the party, plus some other committee chairs, sat down with the deputy finance minister, Minister of State, Charles Adubuahi, in my office. Then we worked out something. Then, more or less, the NDC, which I said that they were not going to agree, then moved to say that, if it is 1%, we accept it. Right? So I was also persuading my own side that they should climb down a bit. Right? Eventually, they said they had reduced by 0.25 to bring it down to 1.5. And then they had also negotiated with the telcos to also bring down their takings by 0.25. So effectively, it had, or should I say technically, it had now climbed down from 1.75 to 1.25. So I thought that we were getting somewhere from they saying that it was 1%, and we have, by this kind of collaboration, brought it down to 1.25 effectively. I thought we had made some tremendous progress. Then all of a sudden the party came in and they said, we have reclined. If we are not coming to 1%, then for us it's 0%. And that was tragic as far as I'm concerned. So it's the injection of the influence of the party outside, which sometimes spoils the broth. And people are not talking about this. And they are saying that, it's Mensah who is not building consensus. What in the circumstance can we do? But notwithstanding, we still try. It's not to say that, you get frustrated, so you abandon the ship. You can't abandon the ship. You
can't.
You have to go on and do your best.
Which is why a lot of people are wondering if you're still going to carry on as, a member of Parliament, because you have said it over time that you may not be going back to Parliament come 2024.
I've said so.
You have said so, and you're sticking by that?
Yes, I told you the other day, had it not been for maybe the insistence of the party, maybe I wouldn't have contested. That is in 2020. Sometimes you want to bow out when the applause is loudest. So that was the insistence. And as a family, my wife and kids were insistent that they thought I had had enough, so I should bow out. But then enters the party and the government, and we want to see what it is that will benefit the party. That explains why I had to come back. Okay. But I've made up my mind this time.
What if the party still insists that you should run and represent Swame come 2024?
Well, it will take some doing. It will take some mighty doing. Because I've spoken, and I think that where I am now, I've had enough. But you never know what tomorrow may hold. I'm not God. Exactly. So we'll see. But I'm talking about yesterday, I'm talking about today. Yesterday and today, my mind is different. Made up. Your mind is made up? Yesterday and today. I mean, 2016, I believe your mind was made up, but you mentioned that President Akufo-Addo had mentioned you should stay on and support his government. It was still very fluid at the time, but I'm saying that between yesterday and today, my mind is made up. It could change tomorrow. I'm not God. That is not to say that I am minded to change my mind. I think I think physically and mentally that's really. You've had enough? I've had enough. Is it because you're worried that you may have lost favor with your people in Swame constituency, especially looking at what happened quite recently when you visited to inspect? I first came to Parliament in 1997. As early as 2000, some people organized people from Swame to come to the party headquarters to tell them that if I contested in 2000, I was going to lose. At the end of the day, their doomsday predictions didn't come through. And I won handsomely, 2,000. That was just after making one term. They said, oh, you was going to lose. And they brought 2 bus loads of people to the party headquarters to insist that I was going to lose the seat. It didn't happen. 2004, some other guys wanted to come and contest, and they also bussed people from Swame to come to the party headquarters. Oh, the other time we forgave him, and he's going to lose. It didn't happen. I kept improving even the numbers. What happened the last time that you spoke about was another kettle of fish. And I'm not sure. First of all, it must be understood that the magazine area is a light industrial area.
Okay.
It's just like walking to a market and then maybe having some unfortunate reception. The people there come from various places. They are not all residents at the place.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when what happened, and I walked through and I met them. When we met them, and I said, look, I spoke to them. And then after I had spoken to them, I asked them if anybody has any issues or questions, they should bring them up. The questions that came had nothing to do with Swame.
Nothing to do with Swame?
It was just one person who spoke about Takwa roads.
Okay.
Don't forget, the road issue which compelled me to go there is a highway. It doesn't come within the ambit of even the Assembly of Swame or even urban roads in Ashanti region. It's the remit of the Ministry of Roads and Highways. The MP has nothing to do with it. Of course, you are there. I know the nature of the road, so you'll be talking about it to the minister.
Which is why you visited to inspect?
Yes. Okay. What happened, in fact, what had even happened was that the contractor, many spots really were damaged. And the contractor had been given a contract not to do spot improvement, but to do the entire stretch. So then he went and scraped off the asphaltic layer on one side of the road. He created dust. And then there was some mighty downpour for about 1 week, where he had scraped, then developed rails, ridges and furrows, small ridges and furrows, which made the place, from dusty conditions, which was enveloping their wares. So somebody selling some new parts, somebody goes there to buy, and the whole thing is enveloped in dust. And the person has to reduce the price of it and so on. That was big inconvenience. People were staying in the dust, inhaling dust. The effect or the impact on their health was another matter. And then movement became difficult. People selling items, especially food items, they were momentarily out of job. So they had legitimate issues to raise. The contractor had suspended work because, according to him, after scraping and doing the compacting of the surface, left to spread bitumen, and then do the asphaltic overlay. He ran short of bitumen. Okay. And according to him, the entire country had run short of bitumen. And they kept assuring him that in a week's time we will have, and the following week, 2 weeks had gone, which then compelled him to go to La Côte d'Ivoire to procure bitumen. Okay. So he had told me that that very day, after they had had the first demonstration, that the evening of that day, and that was the Monday following after our national elections, he was going to go back because he had secured and procured the bitumen from La Côte d'Ivoire. So I had gone there to plead with them to have patience. Okay. That the man was coming to site because the people were preparing for another demonstration just the following day. So I was just going there to assure them that the man was going to come to site. If not that day, perhaps the day after, he was certainly going to move to site. So they should abort the intended demonstration. So it's the reason why I had gone there. Okay. And then also, I knew the following day, Tuesday, the much talked about Swame interchange project was also going to come to Parliament. And that, if they started the project, it was also going to create some dusty conditions. Yeah. So you had gone there to tell them to expect some dust when the project kicked off, and that they shouldn't use it to demonstrate. Is it the case that you are going to suggest that because of that situation or conditions, you don't like the interchange to be built. So I was just going to tell them ahead of time that they should stand ready and not put impediments in the way of the contractor. These two things compelled me to go there. And unfortunately, I had met one group along the line. I explained to them a second group. It was the third group that I bumped into, who said that they wouldn't want to hear anything from any government official because government had deceived them, and then they didn't want to hear from me. And they started the wild, chorusing. And
how did it make you feel? Because I mean, if we watched videos of you, and I watched you carefully, you looked a bit, distraught about the situation, the fact that people were pelting water, at you and all that.
That third group, they moved from someplace and ran all the way to meet me. Eventually, I got to know that, some political grouping are taking over what the protest of the artisans.
Political grouping?
Yes.
So not what? People of Swame necessarily belonging to?
Yes. Because why? Because why? From there, just about when they came and met me, that was meeting the third group, and they started shouting that they didn't want to hear any government. Because I was speaking to the third group when they joined, and they said they didn't want to listen to any government official. That was when they started shouting, away, Mensah Bonsu, away NPP, away Nanado.
So that means that they are not NPP?
That's suggested to me, but I remained calm, so that I thought with that they would calm down and I could speak to them. After about a minute, they were not positioning themselves to be addressed. So I said, okay, let me move on. So we moved. And when we moved, they moved ahead of us. There is one group by the roadside, that really, they had put in the middle of the road a carving of an elephant. It had been there for a very long time. This group then ran ahead of me and then overturned that cabin and started stamping on it, away NPP, away NPP. What does it suggest to you?
So it means that these are not
So those
NPP.
of them I realized. But later on I got to know that it's an enclave of a political party. I wouldn't mention the name. So they had come to take over.
But you should mention, I mean, which enclave exactly? Was it NDC, was it PNC, was it another?
Behind the Anomanyi Ngwanta post office. I understand there's a spot there that the NDC meets.
Okay.
That is the local people, the magazine people there who belong to NDC. So it appears it was those people who ran to then take advantage of the situation. But that is not to say to downplay the legitimate concerns of the artisans that I've related to.
And even also the fact that in the Ashanti region, I mean, we've seen young people say that they are disappointed in the MPP party because Ashanti region being their stronghold, you've barely brought any form of development. And we'll hold on to that conversation. I'm speaking to the majority leader of parliament. He's also the MP for Swame Constituency, Honorable Mensah Bonsu. When we get back, we'll get deeper into this Swame conversation. And of course, some remarks that the president made about reshuffle on the back of comments that we got from the majority leader himself on the need to cut down on ministers. We'll get into all that when we get back. This is the big issue on TV3Newday. Keep watching. Welcome back. This is the big issue on TV3Newday, and this segment is proudly brought to you by Niche Chocolate and Niche Cocoa Drink. Give it a try, like I keep saying, and you will definitely love it. It has all the nutrients, the vitamins, and it is very, very delicious. It is made from 100% pure cocoa, and it is also 100% Ghanaian owned. And so if we're talking about supporting Ghanaian owned products and Ghanaian made products, then Niche is definitely what you should be enjoying. In the studios this morning, I have the majority leader. He's also the MP for Swame Constituency, and he is the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Mensah Bonsu. And we're just talking about what happened in Swame Constituency not too long ago when he was pelted with water amid some hooting as well. And he has made a statement about the fact that he later found out that the people who were the third group that were actually hooting at him were not necessarily MPP supporters. But let me just read something, and I'm just opening it up to the Ashanti region in total, and the fact that young people in Ashanti region, especially members of the NPP, have always said, because we do understand that that is your stronghold, they've constantly said that they are not impressed with the work that the NPP has done in terms of bringing development to the Ashanti region, which is their stronghold. And this is the youth of Kwabri East constituency who are saying that now they are indifferent about the NPP and its government towards them because, you know, they are not happy with the fact that roads have not been constructed, you know, in their constituency. And so they really do not pay attention to any activity concerning the NPP anymore. They are not the only ones who are complaining. We've heard it over time. Young people in the Ashanti region saying that we voted for you, we expected that you bring development to us, and we haven't seen much.
Well, I agree with the issues that some of them have raised. And I told you that what happened at Magazine when eventually I was able to meet the leadership. And those of them who were even following me, they said they were not going to, you know, listen to me. But eventually, some of them, their leaders came to the room to listen. And when I finished addressing them, relating to the matters that I already related to, and I asked them that if anybody had any issues or questions they should ask, the question that they asked is only one person who spoke to me about the roads at Takwa, which is just where we're meeting. There's a community there called Takwa. It's contiguous to the Magazine area. And people raise the issue. Some drains have been built, not too many though, that's in the community. And they were asking when the others were going to be done to make the road as accessible as the next community, which is called Makro. So they were saying that the Takwa people also deserved good roads. Apart from that person who spoke to that, the rest of them who were given the opportunity to talk, one of them spoke about roads in Offenso South. And yet he was part of the crowd. The other one spoke about this Kwabri East matter. Another person mentioned Atimetim, which is in Kwabri West.
Okay.
Another person spoke about Obuasi Road, Bekwai Road. He says his community is Senfi or some, and that the road was being done by a contractor. It was being done very well, he admitted, but the contractor had abandoned site, and there was dust in the place, and the people were suffering. So government should come and do it. Another person spoke about Jakubu. Another person spoke about Manson Kwanta. So you see, they come from various places. All of them were relating to roads. So you see, what it means is that most times when people speak about not having seen anything, they are relating to the condition of roads in their constituencies, which is why government must, you know, be much more up and doing as far as road construction is concerned. That is not to say that this government has not done anything. For instance, when somebody said, Mensah was over, then I asked him, are you a resident in the constituency? He said, yes. I said, okay, where do you work? He said, oh, he works at the post office area. I said, okay, for Magazine, at least over the past 2 years, I've provided you with about 400 bulbs to brighten up your place. At the new site, the road there is being done. The old site, some portions of the road have been done. Club 600 to old Swame area has been done. And then there's a hospital that's being built. In fact, the construction has even finished. Within Swame. Are you aware of it? He said, no, he's not aware. I've not done anything. He is staying just about 1 kilometer from where the hospital is. Okay. Of course, if nothing sends him to what they call inside Magazine, he will not go there. Maybe 2-3 years, we didn't go there. Even though that facility has been completed about 1.5 years ago, he says he doesn't know about that. You know, President Mahama, there was one time he was presenting the State of the Nation address to Parliament, and he was saying to us that the people of Kumasi are saying that he's not done anything by way of roads. And if he hasn't done anything, they should come and ask Mensah. You remember?
I remember.
Some road project have been done. It's at a place called Abusiakrua. It's a 3-kilometer stretch that had been done. Then one from Bremang through UGC to the main Tafo Road. That is a stretch plus Abawa Roof. That is a stretch of about 6 kilometers. So altogether, they had done about 9 kilometers, which is what President Mahama spoke about. It was something. At the time when he was talking about it, the interesting thing was that at the time he was talking about that, They had done altogether not less than 45 kilometers at Asawase and Abuabo. He didn't mention that. Why did he elect to cite what was happening at Bremen? But that's another matter.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is that within my constituency, that is what had been done. It was through the instrumentality of the then road minister, Alaji Suleimana, who later on was transferred to Upper West as a regional minister. He was my mate at the university.
Okay.
And we were friends when we were in university. And so when he became the road minister, I appealed to him. And then he started the project. It was completed under Fuseni Inusa.
Okay.
And President Mahama came and cited it as something that he had done in my constituency. Today in the constituency, under Ekufuado, we have the roads that have been done, over 20 kilometers. In your Swame constituency
alone?
In my constituency.
So how come people are saying then that they are not seeing much?
So that is not to say that we are afraid, because the roads in Swame were very terrible. In the constituency, I must admit. One of the most terrible in the Kumasi municipality, metropolitan area. And then it was one of the reasons why I struggled to have Swame decoupled from Kumasi Metropolitan Authority, so that Swame becomes a municipality on its own. And through that effort, we've been able now to secure this. Don't forget, Asawase was hived off Kumasi and created as a municipality. It was on that they were able to have what they had.
Okay.
Because they were also considered as a new municipality, which needed then to have their own infrastructure. So with that, we're able to have this. And as far as hospitals are concerned, we've been able to have about 3 through the instrumentality of GMPC. We have 1 at Kronum, and then 1 that I use my common fund to build a facility that had been started in 1974. It had laid fallow for a very long time until I came and I used my common fund to complete it.
I see.
And then 1 that had been built at Magazine. And today, we have, as part of this Agenda 111, a new polyclinic that is at the roofing stage at Anomanyi.
Okay, so under Agenda 111, the polyclinic is being built?
Yes, at Anomanyi.
Okay.
So all these things are happening.
But does that qualify to be under Agenda 111? Because we're told that they're supposed to be district hospitals. We know the difference between what a polyclinic...
a municipality.
Exactly. What a polyclinic is.
A district.
So which is why I'm asking you.
A district, by definition, includes municipality. Right? It includes municipalities. So that is it. But really, you are right. I've just linked it up to it because of this talk about Agenda 111.
Okay.
That facility was one of 13 that we approved of. Not really part of the Agenda 111.
Okay.
It was when we had this facility to do the LA
General Hospital.
The LA Polyclinic that had been upgraded to a hospital. So it was that one plus Swame, and then I think there was one at Domahin Kro. So there were 13 in all.
So this one had been started already before the announcement of Agenda 111. Is that what you're saying?
It was, the announcement had come.
Okay.
But then this facility was outside, technically, it was outside the Agenda 111. Right? There were 13 polyclinics. Some were hospitals, 13 health facilities.
Okay.
And I think 7 of them were polyclinics, which is what we had this benefit from. And indeed, as you rightly said, I made the issue that now that it is a municipality, we need a hospital. If the population qualifies it to have a hospital and not a polyclinic. And the assurance was that, yes, because of the commitment, because this is something that I had started way back, President Mohammed's time, President Mensah's time. The Deputy Minister for Health at the time, whose name I've forgotten, is Nakwapim. And I went to him and pleaded with him to help me have a hospital at Swame. We were looking for a facility, and then they were looking for a facility from, was it Kuwait? And they said if they had it, they will bring one to Swame. It didn't materialize until President Mills left.
Okay.
Let me own up to say that deputy minister is related to my wife.
I see. Oh, okay. Okay. So this is going to be upgraded to a hospital, a district hospital once it's done.
Once it's done.
Where have we gotten with that? Has it already started?
It's at the roofing stage.
Roofing stage already?
Yes, yes.
I see. Interesting. Because we've been asking questions about Agenda 111.
So
and how far
when I go
a number of
to
these
Kumasi
hospitals
over this weekend, hopefully, I think I have to visit to see.
But as an MP, we all know what your job is.
Yes.
And it's not to necessarily build roads and hospitals.
Just to
But for a number of reasons, a
facilitate.
lot of constituents always come to the MPs first and ask them, you said you would build us roads, you would build schools, you would build hospitals. We're not seeing that, which is why a lot of MPs suffer the fate that they suffer. Could it then be that you are the ones who are promising these constituents?
I have never done that.
You've never promised?
I have never done that.
Ever promised the building of roads, schools?
I have never, ever done that.
So why do they still hold you responsible?
It's because of the general atmosphere. Because as you said, especially with those of them who want to succeed incumbent members of parliament, they will go and tell people that, have you seen your member of parliament? He's been there for 2 terms, he's not been able to facilitate any development project. Vote him out, bring me in, and I'll do this, I'll do that, I will do that. So you go about telling them, it's not your job. I was just telling you that the issue that arose at Swame when I went there, it had to do with a highway. And the member of parliament has nothing really to do with the development of a highway. But I know that spots were bad. So you ferry the concerns to the minister. That's all that you can do. And then you keep knocking on the door of the minister. That it really is causing great inconvenience. And the Magazine Road, that highway, is part of the central, what is called the central spine. It exists in the central corridor of our road network. So it's a central spine of this country's road network. So we are talking about that. And if the minister says, well, I've seen it, I know the problem. My people are talking to me about it. Unfortunately, we don't have money for it now. Let's wait until about 6 months or 1 year. If he tells you that, what else can you do? What maybe they could do then would be to resort to spot improvement. Okay. And I remember at a point in time, he was saying that, look, the immediate stretch of the road, which is also in a very deplorable state, he was struggling to see what could be done because when we started the interchange, the whole thing was going to be redone. So if you do it now, it doesn't fit within the architecture of the new design, what happens? Would have cost more or less some double counting expenditure. So he was struggling to see what best approach to do. Fortunately, I think we are where we are.
756 million euros has been approved.
750.
It's now 750? No, 656 million for the Swame interchange. That's coming out of the 750, is it not?
No.
Okay.
The Swame interchange is a different facility. That's about, the phase is 2 phases.
Yes.
The one is 140 million.
140 million.
140 million.
But was there not some 21 million?
Ancillary road network that we conjoined to the facility. I think that one was 45 million.
Okay.
Was it 45 or 47 million? So that's it.
And they've been approved?
Been approved.
And so we're on course to start in September?
Hopefully.
Which is something that you said, hopefully.
Yes.
How long is this supposed to take before completion?
The interchange at Swame, I think, is heavily steely. It's heavily steely. So a lot of it will be cast and then, put in place. That then means that I should think once it started, if work is not suspended, I should think that within 24 months, they should be able to complete once it started.
All right. Well, since we're talking about the work of an MP, let's talk about Adwoa Safo, because that's one other issue that has also been very, very popular in the news. And the fact that recently we're expecting her to make an appearance at the Privileges Committee. Unfortunately, she did not, even though the Privileges Committee had mentioned that even in the media, they had published a notice to her to make an appearance. That didn't happen. But when the report came out from the Privileges Committee, we're seeing that there's some sharp division between the minority and the majority in terms of what decision to be taken with regards to her seat being declared vacant in Parliament. Your side thinks that at this point, her seat should be declared vacant, but minority does not agree to that. What do you say?
First of all, remember that the minority keeps changing post. When the referral was made in Parliament on 5th April, I think it was the last day before we adjourned, by the Speaker, the chief whip for the minority got up to say that he disagreed with the speaker. And his disagreement was that the speaker could not on his own refer that matter of privilege involving a member to the privileges committee. The speaker has no such business. That was the position they took. So initially that was their beef, that the speaker cannot do that. I said I disagree with them. The speaker can do that. I mean, every now and then we have demonstrators come to Parliament. They come to present petitions to the speaker. The speaker will be presiding. So usually it is me as the leader of the House, usually joined by the minority leader, to receive the petition. We then submit the petition to the speaker, who after reading, we don't read. Maybe the people will tell us the content as a message to the speaker. So we submit it to the speaker, who after reading then will come to the House and then directs it to the relevant committee. This is the committee, this thing has come to me. I'm referring it to the Committee on Health, Committee on Education, or whatever committee, to deal with it and report to the House. That's the practice of the House. So if you say that the speaker has his attention, and when the speaker came, he said his attention has been drawn to the fact that there's been some breaches on the part of some members of Parliament. Even going back to the first session, that is last year, that some people breached the Constitution by absenting themselves for more than 15 sitting days in a particular meeting without his own approval or having given them the authority to absent themselves. But he said he wasn't going to go to the first session, that is 2021, but to restrict himself to 2022. And that his attention has been drawn to this by a petition that had been sent to him, and he called the table officers to investigate, and 3 of the MPs have been caught in the web. And so he was referring their conduct to the Privileges Committee. What it meant was that the speaker had satisfied himself that he had not given them permission. So these 3 were Adwoa Safo, Kennedy Ohene Japan, and Henry Quartey, the regional minister for Greater Accra. Yeah. So they were to the first leg of the breach had been established by the speaker. 15 days, more than 15 days. I have not given them permission. So it's for you, the committee, to investigate, to determine whether they have reasonable cause to have absented themselves. Okay. And that is what the Constitution provides in Article 97. That determination should be made by the committee. So the committee went and sat on it and availed opportunities to the 3. Henry Quartey appeared, Kennedy Ohene Japan appeared, and according to the committee, they offered reasonable excuse for their absence. For instance, Ken said he had surgery, and then he was given some 6 months leave of absence. Yeah. But when he came to Ghana, he realized that on occasions he felt quite a bit okay. Whereupon he came to Parliament. But sometimes that he came and he gave some dates. He came and Parliament would not sit. But what he realized was that maybe getting to the afternoons, he started having pains. So we come, if Parliament was not sitting, maybe from 10 to 12, then you go home. And Henry also said that, yes, he requested permission from the Speaker, and the Speaker approved of it on the occasions that he was away. Yeah. So because the Speaker had approved of his travel outside, he then construed that as the Speaker has been giving him permission. And in fact, he had even written to the Parliament to support him in paying his medical bills. And the Speaker was aware of it. He has submitted all these things to the Speaker. So he took it for granted that the Speaker having given him permission to travel, would he require to send another request to absent himself? So the committee was, convinced that, they had reasonable cause to have absented themselves. Adwoa, on 2-3 occasions that they offered her, did not appear. And then they said she had abused the privilege that they had also extended to her to come before them. The 3rd time was in, I think, July, where she even spoke to me through her special assistant that I should tell the committee that she was going to avail herself on a particular day. I think July 5th or so. Yeah. On a particular day. That day came and passed. One of them, yeah. And she didn't avail herself, even though they did everything to reach her. So they realized that they determined that she was minded not to appear before the committee. And then made a determination that she had, in that case, having refused on 3 occasions to submit herself, abused the privileges extended to her, even with respect to the privileges committee itself. And then they made a determination that on account of that, it was gross insubordination, and that by that conduct, that seat falls vacant. And that's the imperatives of Article 97 1C should kick in. That means that the seat is vacant. And when the seat is vacant, it is for the clerk to Parliament to inform the electoral commission, right? Now, there was some difficulty. The difficulty that arose was that when the Speaker made a referral to the Privileges Committee on 5th of April, the Speaker, then went on to say that when the committee should go into it, when they finish, they should submit their report to Parliament. For Parliament not to debate it, but to vote on it, on the report. And that day, I said, when Muntaka said he disagreed with the Speaker for suo motu making a referral, I said, that one, I disagree with Muntaka. The Speaker has that right to do that. What I disagree with the Speaker on is the fact of what he said, his conclusion, that when the report comes, Parliament will not debate it, but Parliament will vote on it. Where is that coming from? So I told the Speaker that I disagree with him on what conclusion that he had drawn, that Parliament, that is plenary, should vote on it. And I said, no, that's not what the Constitution determines. The Constitution says that that determination must be made by the committee. So when the report finally came, a motion had been put on the order paper that Parliament should approve of the report from the committee. Yeah. Unfortunately, the committee chairman, the first deputy speaker, had traveled out. I think he had gone to represent the speaker somewhere. So he was not in Parliament. So I raised a plenary objection to the motion, because the motion then would appear that Parliament should approve the report. And if Parliament decides not to approve of a report, what does it mean? That we have decided not to agree with the recommendation of the position of the committee. And I thought that was unconstitutional. God doesn't lie with the plenary to make that decision. It lies with the committee.
Okay.
Just as, in the case where maybe in the course, after a budget has been presented and some unforeseen matter arises outside the budgetary allocation, the finance committee could approach, the finance minister could approach the finance committee as per Article 177 of the Constitution to make a request that this has happened. We are finished with the budget, this has happened. But we need to attend to this problem immediately. A finance committee, if they are satisfied with the request from the finance minister, could grant him his request and ask him to take some amount from the contingency fund. That is what Article 177 provides.
Okay.
So fancy the situation, you say that that matter should come to Parliament for Parliament to approve of it. Fancy the situation where the finance committee has given the finance minister the mandate to go and take money from the consolidated fund. He does take it, the contingency fund. He takes it, only for Parliament to come and say that we disapprove of what the finance committee did. What would be the import of it? The finance committee would have caused financial loss. Is that what you mean? So I said, that is not what the Constitution provides. The determination should be made by the finance committee. Okay. And so the same effect is what happens under Article 97. And I also took them to Article 106. When matters come before Parliament, for it to be considered under a certificate of urgency, the determination of the urgency of any matter is done by a committee and not plenary. Okay. So I sent them through all these things, and the speaker then said, I've raised fundamental issues, and he needs to think through well in order to see the proper way about it. Okay. So he said he needed some time, which is why we then had to adjourn on that. I think that I'm hoping that the speaker will do what the Constitution provides. Which is to declare her seat vacant. Which, that declaration is not even made by the speaker. Well, that determination has been done by the committee. By the committee. Because but the majority see, if the purpose of the speaker coming in, because the this, and that is why I said that when such a determination is made, it should be served to Parliament as an information paper to inform us. Just as is done in the declaration of urgent matter, or the Finance Committee asking the minister or authorizing the minister to take some amount from the contingency fund. It comes to us as information and not for us to vote on it.
Okay.
So I said that should be the process. But if the speaker, for purposes of announcing it to the world, says that this is the determination that has been made by the committee. So the seat is vacant. If that is the content of the declaration by the speaker, I have nothing against it.
But how is it that, you know, her own people are the ones who are now asking for her seat to be declared vacant? Because naturally you'd expect that it's the minority that would take that position. But they are arguing that as long as there is no order of natural justice in this case, you have not heard from her.
My sister.
And so if you've not heard from her, how do you pass judgment? So
if your case goes before a court of competent jurisdiction, you are invited. And we say that you will not appear before the court. We think the court has no business, after they've heard the prosecution, making a ruling. Is that your understanding of the law?
So it should be.
Is that your understanding of the law?
So she should go.
No, I'm asking you. Is that your understanding of the law?
I'm not asking you now. So that means that based on this, the majority thinks
I want
that
to reduce it to conversation.
She should go out of Parliament.
No, I'm saying that the determination has been made. The breach is in respect of Article 97, and the determination has been made by the committee. If we think that there should be some mitigating factors, that's another matter. But that determination has been made.
I see. That means that...
And I, as a person, I'm not happy at, you know, what the likely effect or impact will be. Because Ajua ever said as my deputy, and I know the potential, the tremendous potential in this young lady.
Which is why I'm surprised that regardless of that relationship you may have had.
I've been talking, look, even that day.
You still think that her seat should be declared vacant?
Even that day, I'm not talking about what I think. It's the position of the law. That day when the determination was, the matter came before us in Parliament, that very day, Ajua's husband had come to me in the very morning.
What for?
I will not discuss what for.
Well, you brought it up. I mean, we all didn't know that he had come to you. But what was the reason he came to you?
Oh.
Was it on this same matter?
Some family issues, this same matter and some other connected matters.
So what, he was asking that you do not...
I am not divulging. You want to bait me, I'm not divulging.
Well, I'm just asking because you brought it up, Honourable.
The information that I
Well, that means that you're okay also, even though this is a totally different matter and that is in the jurisdiction of the President, the fact that he also asked that she step aside as minister, was that a good call by the President, even though people criticized him and said he waited a bit too long to make that decision?
Well, I think that maybe the President wanted to wait on what Parliament would do before making a final determination. I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
I see. Interesting. Well, Honourable Honourable Joseph Osei says that if the Speaker, if you resume Parliament and the Speaker does not declare her seat vacant necessarily, you're going to court. Do you agree with that?
Oh, we're not there yet. I think that the very day when my colleagues raised this issue, that they think that there should be a procedure. We are talking about the Constitution and we are saying that there should be a procedure. What procedure? The Constitution exempts these three. Parliament, it is said, we make our own rules, right? But the Constitution specifically exempts these three instances that I've mentioned. And you cannot amend the Constitution by your own rules. You cannot. These are explicit exemptions that the determination is made in respect of the three instances that I've cited in Article 97.1, 97.1c, and also 177 and 106, 106.13 of the Constitution. The determination is made on all these occasions by the committee. And it's not been an instant when a committee in Parliament has declared that this bill is urgent and must be treated as such, when Parliament has said, we disagree with you, let's vote on it. It has never happened.
Looking at how long it's taken the President to even ask her to step aside, we're talking about reshuffling now. We heard from the President, and you had even spoken earlier saying that in actual fact, the number of ministers that we have are too many. We don't need more than 19 or 20 ministers, to do the job that they're doing at the moment. We've heard from the President, and he says that even on the back of calls for him to conduct a reshuffle, he doesn't think that is necessary at the moment because his ministers have been outstanding. He's been assessing their work every single day, and he thinks that per the outcome and the outlook, they've been outstanding. What do you say?
First of all, what I said at KNUST had to do with general overview of the Constitution. And I said my understanding of it in terms of looking at the imperatives of Article 76 and Article 78. Article 78 allows the president to appoint ministers of state to assist him to run the state efficiently. That is Article 78. Now, when you look at Article 76, which is on the cabinet ministers, that there shall be a cabinet composed of ministers of state. So one, ministers of state, your responsibility is to assist the president in running the state efficiently. But the 76 imposes additional responsibility on cabinet ministers, which is to assist the president to evolve policies. Right? Now, if a minister is bringing any agreement, any bill, any program to Parliament, the program, bill, or project would be to address, maybe an agreement, would be to address some defect in our governance or our development. And that bill or program or agreement would then have to point out the defects in the system, whether there's a law in operation. If there's a law, how is it that it's not able to cure what you are bringing? If there's no law, how do you feel in, how do you create that legal regime to deal with this matter? Right? That is the policy. And the policy is developed by the cabinet ministers. So a minister who brings any agreement, bill, should have to bring what is called a memorandum, which the minister will have to assent to. If you're not a cabinet minister and you're not part of the policy evolution, how do you assent to it?
Okay.
And the Constitution provides that the maximum number of cabinet ministers should be 19. It says between 10 and 19. And that is why I say that a proper reading of the Constitution will suggest that for sector ministers, we need not more than 19. And if that's the case, then I'm not talking about the Akufo-Addo's government. I'm talking about general rule for governance.
But at the moment, it's the Akufo-Addo government. From Rawlings through Mills, John Mahama, Kufuor, and Akufo-Addo, none of them has had the 19 ministers. All of them have gone over that. And I'm saying that going forward, I think this should be our guide. Okay. Right. So that is what I said at KNUST. Had nothing to do with the Akufo-Addo's government. Okay. But so that's the government that's in power at the moment, which is why we're asking that in relation to what's happening now. So I'm just saying that because the reportage on it, some of them said, Mensah Bonsu criticizes the Akufo-Addo's number of ministers. But I was speaking to the general overall development architecture of our But sir, you know timing is important, and so even if you're speaking to the general architecture, at the moment when you spoke, which government was in power? It was your party that was in power, and so in a way you were also speaking to your party.
Is involved in governance.
So that means you do not approve of the number of ministers that we have currently? There are too many?
I'm saying that we should look at that. Okay. What's the remit? And what does the Constitution provide? So I was speaking to the Constitution. Now, the other matter that I spoke to had to do with what we just mentioned, the reshuffle. Yeah. I spoke to it. That you see, reshuffle. When ministers get nominated by a president, they come before us, as the Constitution provides, that Parliament should give prior approval. So they come before us, and we vet them, we screen them through the vehicle, the appointment committee. And if they are found to be capable and competent for their sectors, the appointment committee then will recommend to Parliament for us to approve of them, and we do. So a nominee who comes before us is vetted for the sector that the person has been nominated for. But we have had situations in this country when a person appears before, is designated for a certain position or sector, He comes, he's vetted, and the president elects not to swear him into that ministry, even at the very outset. I was talking about Alhaji Suleimana. He was nominated to continue as the Minister for Roads. He came, he was vetted as Minister for Roads, and the swearing in, he was taken to Upper West as a regional minister. How does that happen? I have always insisted that in the presidential system, if there should be a reshuffle, that is the president reorganizing his team or redistributing positions, those people should come back to Parliament.
Okay.
For us to assess them, whether they are competent in the new areas that they are going.
Okay.
That should be how it should. So, in the new standing orders, that is what we have written.
But in this case where the president says that he's not even going to reshuffle it,
I'm saying that in the new standing orders, so Parliament agrees that once you are vetted to a position, you should stay there. If you are not able to perform, it's not a matter of reshuffle. Then you should be fired by the president.
You should be fired.
And a new person brought in.
Should there have been some people who should have been fired by now?
I am talking to the general principal now.
I'm asking about this current government.
To the general principal
should some ministers have been fired by now? There have been concerns about health minister, finance minister, agri minister. A lot of people have said that they have underperformed and they should not be in the positions that they are in. Should they have been fired by now?
I'm not oblivious to what comes from outside.
So should they have been fired by now?
Saying that
finance minister especially. He told us we're not going to IMF. We needed the E-levy. We passed the E-levy and we went to IMF. Now we've been downgraded by S&P. Should he have been fired?
As for the downgrading and what went into it, there are many factors.
Should he have been fired?
Is it personal to him? We must do a critical analysis about his own performance. And the person who conducts the asset test is the person who nominates. Right?
Okay.
That is why the president says that, well, I'm a Christian. The Bible says that right? Which is to mean that people may be using their own barometers to assess the performance of people. Just like we were talking about members of Parliament.
Okay.
A lot of the critics and the criticisms that are leveled at members of Parliament has nothing to do with their statutory responsibility.
So you think that he's been outstanding?
I have not said so. I'm just saying that...
You are not answering the question, sir. My time is up. I have to go. I was just checking to see, do you think he should be fired?
You're asking a question without allowing me to provide a basis. I'm saying that if the president who has nominated him with his own benchmarks of assessment, and don't forget that we used to have a Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation. They'll be monitoring and evaluating the performance of some of the ministers and making recommendations to the president. The president would also maybe have his own consultation with his backroom advisors. Okay. And then he will come to a determination. Don't forget.
So no minister should be fired at the moment?
No, don't forget. See, the takeaway from what the president said.
Okay, final
one was that, look, if I have to do it, I don't have to advertise it. Okay. So it's not a closed shop. It's not a closed shop that the president said he would never do any reshuffle. He said, if I have to do it,
I will. But you are saying that per the standing orders, then if you do not perform, you should be out, which is why I'm asking that. Should we have fired some ministers by now? Or all of them have been, outstanding? Well, unfortunately, I don't have the benchmarks to be. But people are saying that. People are saying that. You want me to say that I agree or I don't disagree. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. For those of you who were expecting a lot, unfortunately, our time did not allow us. We hope that we can get him back in the studios very soon so we can touch on a lot of the other things, of course, whether they can break the 8 or not and performance of his government. But I've been speaking to the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs. He's also the MP for Swame Constituency. And yes, he's been talking to us about issues concerning Parliament and, of course, government and Adjoa Safo as well. We'll be back with more. This is TV3.